We are facing an extraordinary and deeply disturbing escalation inside the U.S. government, one that blurs the line between political retaliation and military intimidation. Reports now indicate that Donald Trump asked Pete Hegseth and the Pentagon to prosecute Senator Mark Kelly by recalling him to military service. The allegation centers around a short, straightforward video in which Kelly and several other former service members emphasized one of the most fundamental principles in American democracy: members of the military must refuse illegal orders. According to a headline that broke earlier today, the Pentagon is considering recalling Senator Mark Kelly to Navy service so he can be subjected to military law under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the UACMJ. This is not some symbolic gesture. A recall means the military can temporarily bring a retired officer back onto the active roles, not to serve, but to prosecute. Mark Kelly, a retired Navy captain, a combat pilot, and an astronaut, would suddenly be placed under military jurisdiction again. And what triggered all of this? A calm, measured video he filmed alongside Representative Elisa Slotkin, Representative Jason Crow, and others, in which they reiterate one point: illegal orders must not be followed. This is not radical. It is not partisan. It is not new. It is the foundation of U.S. military ethics. Yet somehow, this benign and legally accurate reminder has been painted by Trump and his allies as a coup attempt, a call to mutiny, and a threat to his authority. What should have been a basic civics lesson has been distorted into an act of sedition. To understand the rising tension, it helps to look at Trump's Truth Social feed from the last 24 hours, a feed that resembles a late-night meltdown. In a series of posts, Trump claimed the Democrats' video was a call for service members to defy or take out our duly elected president. This accusation is not connected to reality. The video does not mention Trump, Republicans, violence, or rebellion. It simply says what every military member already knows: if a president gives an unlawful or unconstitutional order, you cannot obey it. Instead of acknowledging that principle, Trump escalated. He accused Democrats of promoting domestic terrorism. He reposted conspiratorial commentary from Glenn Beck claiming the video wasn't aimed at U.S. troops but at global leadership, implying an international conspiracy. Beck went so far as to say that if a message like this were released inside Russia, we would assume Putin was facing a coup. But the only reason anyone would fear a message about refusing illegal orders is if they intended to give illegal orders. Trump continued spiraling. He posted an AI-generated image reading TikTok, a phrase widely recognized inside extremist circles as a threat or countdown. Then he shared another one featuring the words "time to obliterate the deep state," coupled with a stylized Q symbol, the logo of the Canaan movement. He posted late into the night, boosting fringe accounts like Spiritual Street Fighter 17, whose feed is filled with apocalyptic symbolism and conspiracy-laced rhetoric. These accounts openly celebrate that the president is promoting their memes and use that promotion to legitimize their claims. And then the true escalation arrived, a statement from the Pentagon, or as Trump's post mistakenly labels it, the Department of War. The announcement said the department had received serious allegations of misconduct by Captain Mark Kelly and had initiated a review under the UACMJ. The possible outcomes include administrative consequences or recalling Kelly to active duty for a court-martial. The idea that Kelly's video constitutes misconduct would be laughable, if it weren't so dangerous. The UACMJ itself requires service members to reject illegal orders. Federal laws like 18 U.S. Code 2387 prohibit actions that undermine loyalty or discipline within the armed forces, but nothing in Kelly's message interferes with loyalty or discipline. It reinforces the correct legal standard. The irony is glaring. The Defense Department claims to be defending good order and discipline, while Trump openly endorses violence, posts messages about hanging political opponents, and encourages the idea of punishing lawmakers who simply repeat established U.S. military law. Nothing in Kelly's message proposes disloyalty to the country. What it opposes is loyalty to unlawful commands. This is why Republican rhetoric rings hollow. On one hand, they ask, what makes you think Donald Trump would ever give illegal or divisive orders? Then in the next breath, Trump posts about executing political enemies, obliterating the government, and treating disagreement as treason. These contradict each other so sharply that they create their own argument. The fear of illegal orders is not hypothetical. The video at the center of this crisis is clear, calm, and sober. Senators and representatives speak directly to the men and women serving in America's armed forces and intelligence agencies. They acknowledge the stress these individuals face. They recognize that trust in institutions is fragile, and they reaffirm that the oath is to the Constitution, not to a president, not to a party, and not to a movement. This reminder is essential precisely because the threat is domestic. It is not some enemy army at the border. It is not foreign sabotage. It is a president testing the boundaries of what he can command, how far loyalty will stretch, and whether those tasked with defending the Constitution will defend it against him. Yet the reaction to this simple reaffirmation, the furious claims of betrayal, the violent rhetoric, the threats of prosecution underscores why this message needed to be said. This is not an ordinary disagreement over policy. This is a fight over whether constitutional limits still matter. What happens next will reveal how deeply those limits have eroded. To fully grasp the gravity of this moment, it's important to look closely at the heart of the video that triggered this political firestorm. In it, Senator Mark Kelly and a group of former military and intelligence professionals, individuals who served as Navy captains, Air Force officers, CIA operatives, Army Rangers, paratroopers, intelligence analysts speak directly to current service members. Their message is not radical, not subversive, and not disguised. It is a reminder rooted in American law, military tradition, and constitutional duty. They explain that trust in the military is under pressure and that this administration, referring to the one currently in power, has created tension between uniformed service members and civilians. They emphasize that each of them, like current service members, swore an oath to protect the Constitution, and that oath does not change with political winds. It binds them to uphold the law, not to bend to illegal commands. Throughout the video, they reiterate a clear and simple rule: illegal orders must be refused, not considered, not questioned, refused. This message is neither ideological nor partisan. It is literally what the UACMJ requires. The Pentagon itself teaches this. Every commander, every recruit, every officer learns this principle during training. It is the core safeguard that prevents the military from becoming a tool of a dictator or a weapon against the public. It is what separates the United States from nations where the military swears allegiance to a leader, rather than a constitution. Yet Republicans, guided by Trump's reaction, have aggressively reframed this video as an attempt to undermine the president. They claim it is inciting soldiers to rebellion. They insist it is a coded message encouraging military resistance. These claims rely on fear and distortion. The video mentions no names, no violent imagery, no call to defiance. It is a reminder of the law, and that is what makes the backlash so revealing. Only a leader who fears the refusal of illegal orders would feel threatened by a message about refusing illegal orders. The Pentagon's subsequent statement announcing a potential review of Kelly's conduct, possibly leading to his recall for court-martial, has intensified the alarm. The statement warns that retirees remain subject to the UACMJ and that federal law prohibits actions that interfere with military discipline. On its surface, this appears procedural, even neutral, but when placed in the context of Trump's public pressure campaign, the meaning becomes clearer. This is not a neutral review. It is political retaliation cloaked in legal language. It's worth examining Trump's behavior in the hours leading up to the Pentagon's announcement. His Truth Social posts were increasingly erratic, filled with apocalyptic warnings, violent insinuations, and conspiratorial images. He endorsed Canaan accounts. He amplified users calling Democrats domestic terrorists. He reposted messages calling for lawmakers to be arrested and impeached. He even boosted posts implying that violent punishment, including hanging, would be justified. The idea that someone posting TikTok countdown memes and time to obliterate the deep state at 3 a.m. should not be questioned about the legality of his potential orders is absurd. And yet his allies insist that he would never misuse power, that no one has reason to fear an unlawful command. Their argument collapses under the weight of their own rhetoric. This is why the reaction to Kelly's video has become so intense. It touches the nerve Trump has been trying to deaden, the nerve that says the military is loyal to the Constitution, not to him. A functioning democracy cannot survive if military obedience becomes personal rather than legal. If soldiers follow orders simply because a president gives them, the system fails. It becomes indistinguishable from authoritarian rule. Everything the U.S. military stands for relies on the opposite principle. The danger here is not merely hypothetical. Trump has already tested the limits of military obedience during his first term. He encouraged violent crackdowns on protesters. He explored seizing voting machines. He suggested sending the military into cities for political reasons. He discussed using force against civilians. At one point, he openly mused about Second Amendment solutions against political opponents. His willingness to use violence as a political tool is documented and well known. So when he sees a group of former service members reminding the military that they are not required to obey him if he orders something unlawful, he reacts as if his authority is being undermined. But in reality, the message does not challenge legitimate authority, it protects it. Lawful orders must be followed. Illegal orders must not be. There is no ambiguity. The fact that this basic principle is now treated as a political attack shows how far the country has slipped into crisis. The rule of law is being reframed as rebellion. Constitutional duty is being painted as treason. Those who clarify legal obligations are being threatened with prosecution. And this shift is happening while Trump's online behavior grows increasingly dangerous. His rhetoric resembles that of someone convinced he is under siege, someone who sees enemies everywhere and interprets calm reminders of the law as personal assaults. He reposts extremist accounts, he elevates conspiracies, he treats violent imagery as political messaging. Meanwhile, the Pentagon statement, whether influenced by pressure, fear, or internal politics, ends up legitimizing Trump's fury. It signals that political leaders can weaponize military discipline against their critics, and it sets a precedent where retired service members who speak about constitutional obligations risk being dragged back into military jurisdiction. The heart of the issue is not Mark Kelly, it is not a video, it is not a legal technicality. The real issue is the fragility of democratic norms. A stable democracy requires a military that exists outside the reach of personal anger. When the military is used as a tool to punish political opponents, authoritarianism is already underway. The most haunting part of this situation is the simultaneous rise of violent language. When a president reposts calls to hang individuals, claims that opponents are traitors, and promotes countdown imagery while demanding loyalty, he is not simply venting, he is shaping the environment. He is setting expectations. He is signaling what he believes should happen to those who oppose him. This is why the message in Kelly's video matters. It reinforces that the military must remain loyal to the Constitution when political power becomes unstable, and that loyalty is being tested right now, not by foreign enemies, but by internal forces that see law as an obstacle rather than a boundary. What comes next will determine whether the rule of law still holds, and whether military power continues to serve the nation or begins to serve an individual.